legitimately decided to do this podcast like 15 minutes ago. So this one might be rogue, but that's what you're here for. This is the Further North podcast. Welcome back, everybody. My voice is not 100%. I went and saw a band called Slowly Slowly down in Frankston on Saturday night, and the fact I can even speak right now, I can't believe it. So we're going to be a bit gritty this one. I apologize, but here I am pumping out content for you guys. Now, 15 minutes ago, I was like, I should probably post something. It's the weekend. Well, it's Monday to be fair, but it's my weekend. Surely everyone is used to weekly podcasts, well, 2 weekly to be honest, but it's the off season. I'm not doing that. Do you guys want content? And I'm sure you do. So we're going to start off with some news. I'm going to talk a little bit about what you guys might want in the podcast through the off season. And then we're going to do just a tier list, another tier list, just ranking the players and their seasons. We did this halfway through the year, ranking them S tier, A, B, C, and D. And we're going to do it again because there's been a lot more football since we did that last, and we're going to do that before we get into the drafts and all that sort of stuff. So first thing I wanted to talk about, and a bit of news that really came today. It's been pretty quiet on the news. I guess all the finals are going on, and we'll have a chat about the finals quickly as well. But we lost a couple of coaches. John Blakey and Gavin Brown are going to depart the club. I'm pretty sure the club just put out a statement on that. So those guys are going to be heading off. Blakey's been here for a little bit, I think. I get Blakey. I know the difference, but sometimes Blakey and Crocker mash up in my head a little bit, even though I know that they're completely different people. But yeah, Blakey is going to be leaving, and Gavin Brown, I think, what was he, the head of development? And look, what does that even mean, to be honest? What are you developing? The talent? Because, probably time to go then. Developing the club, we've done pretty well in that, so who knows? But those guys are going to head off. To be honest with you guys, I don't really care. I couldn't care less about anyone, but basically coach, assistant coach. I mean, CEO and president are important, but I didn't really know that until Sonia and Jen. I mean, Brayshaw was great for us as well, but I didn't know what they did back then. I was too young. And yeah, maybe like Brady Rawlings' role and things like that. They're the only ones I'm really privy to. So all I know is if Clarkson is there, I trust whoever they're going to bring in. And look how much better the club feels now than the year before with Viney and Jan and all these guys there. So, yeah, look, not really much more to say on that, to be honest. Brett Ratton has obviously left as well, so more reshuffling is going to be needed. Assistant coach, look, hopefully Clarkson can do the thing where he brings someone in and is ready to take over, just like he's sort of done with Sam Mitchell. That would be fantastic. I'm sure he's all over that. And yeah, the club will appoint the right people, I'm sure. I trust that now. A year ago, didn't trust that until Clarko and everyone came on board. So yeah, sketchy. But hey, John Blakey and Gavin Brown have departed North Melbourne. Should have stuck around, boys. Premiership in a few years' time. The only other things to really talk about, I guess, is a bit of the finals going on. What do we all think of the finals? Pretty crazy week, to be honest. I mean, Collingwood, Melbourne, that was a fun one to watch. I mean, it felt a lot more comfortable than 7 points. I think Collingwood, people were doubting them after losing a few games in the last round, but they'll be fine. Yeah, it definitely didn't feel like 7 points. Collingwood sort of answered every time the D's hit back. The only controversial point for this one is the Braden Maynard bump, hit, whatever you want to call it. And I see a couple of points of view. One point of view is smothering is part of the game. He's attempted to smother and then protected himself, which I do understand, but I don't agree with. I'm going to find the best way to lay this out exactly how I mean. What I think needs to happen is he needs to be suspended for 3+ weeks. I think he has to miss the grand final. Do I agree with that? No, I don't. But the AFL has made their bed with the strictness on these bumps. You think about the James Sicily one where he just slung someone around a little bit and then he got 3 weeks for that. Well, the Maynard hit was so much worse. Cozzy Pickett cannoned himself into somebody and got 3 weeks. The difference with those two, which both got 3 weeks, is that the players in those two incidents got up and walked away. Oh, I can't remember the Hawthorn one. Did he? I don't actually remember that now. I'm thinking about it. But Bailey Smith definitely got up and was fine. As far as I remember, the Hawthorn guy was fine too, but don't quote me on that. The thing with Braden Maynard is, yes, his reputation comes into this, but at the end of the day, he's left the ground, he's led with the shoulder and knocked a guy out and had to be stretchered off. Now, do I agree with that being a suspension? No, I want people to go at the ball. But the AFL has made their bed with exactly what they want from these situations. If the Bailey Smith one and the Hawthorn Sicily one are suspensions, the Maynard one has to be a suspension. I don't agree with it, but I don't think any of those guys should have got suspended. Maybe Cozzy, but like Sicily is the best example here. Let's just use that one. Sicily shouldn't have been suspended for that long. He just tackled someone. And they're suspending people on the outcome of the tackle, not for the action, right? So Maynard's action was careless, but it is a smother. It's part of footy. But the consequence was so much more severe than those other two. So the AFL shouldn't have a choice but to suspend him. Will they suspend him? No, I don't think so. I think they're just going to find a way because they don't want to hurt their beloved Pies coming up to the grand final. Maynard sells tickets on his own. I want to watch him in a grand final. I think he's an awful bloke and he's probably the last guy in the league I'd like to have a beer with. But I'm going to watch him in the grand final because he gets stuck in and I enjoy that. That's basically my take on it, guys. Look, I know this one's a hot one, and if you don't agree with me, please let me know. But I just don't think there's another choice, but you have to suspend him. But that's the AFL's fault for being so soft on this stuff all year. The only reason the AFL should be suspending him is consistency, not because he should actually be suspended. Hopefully I've explained that okay. Anyway, we're spending too long. Carlton, Sydney. I mean, interesting late. Sydney just left the comeback too late. We got Carlton fever, but next week I'm sure Carlton will get absolutely destroyed. How good's Harry Mackay? Missing 2 goals from about 15 metres out. And then there was that other one where the bloke tried to handball it over to Curnow and nearly screwed it up in the goal square. That was wild. But Carlton are through. Yeah, I'm sick of the Blues fans, to be honest. But hey, St Kilda embarrassed. Yeah, I predicted that to happen. To be honest, St Kilda are the weakest team in the finals by far. They weren't convincing all year and somehow they ended up in the 8. Don't know how that happened. And then the Giants came over to the G and did the job. And how good is it to see the Power lose by nearly 50 points in the first game of the finals? What a pathetic club with a pathetic midfielder. Yeah, I hope I hope Port Adelaide get absolutely slaughtered next week against GWS. But yeah, embarrassing. Kane Cornes, you could see it in his eyes when he was talking about the club and how disappointed he is. He didn't want to say it, but Channel 9 probably said he has to say it because he's incredibly biased. But a decent first week of finals. Next week, Melbourne Carlton. I'm going to tip Melbourne in that one. And look, I'm going to tip Port Adelaide. I don't want them to win at all, and I hope they get knocked out. But it's only a matter of time, so don't worry about that. The Giants will put up a fight, though. Wouldn't be surprised if they got up, but no, I'm going to tip Port Adelaide in that one. Okay, just before we get into the tier list, this is what I want from you guys. Once again, thank you for listening so consistently, following the social medias, and just interacting. I know I'm very slow on DMs and things like that. To everyone who's DM'd me, I apologize. I'm just not great at it. It's no excuse, but I always get back eventually within the week. I try to anyway. I want to know from you guys what you want to see in the off season from me. And please message, comment on the YouTubes or anything I post. Just find a way to tell me what you guys want to hear. I've never done an off season before. I've got trades and free agency podcasts coming up. There's going to be draft previews and things like that. Some other things I've got ideas for. I mean, any sort of tier list, we can go through and rank the worst AFL Guernseys of all time. I was going to do game recalls, like find a like a KO mini version of a classic North game and get Marnie or someone over and we can just watch it, play the audio for you guys to listen to and we can commentate on it and talk about it. I think that'd be fun for like the depths of the off season when there's nothing going on. There's some ideas I've got, but tell me, what would you guys like to see? At Further North Pod on Instagram, Further North Podcast on Facebook, message me, tell me what you want and give me some ideas because I've never done an off season before and hey, I'm here to please you guys. I want to know what you want to hear from me to keep this pod going. If I can do one a week still, I will. I just need the content to put out. So yeah, let me know. Okay, guys, let's get into the tier list. So we're going to go through S tier, A tier, B, C, and D. We're going to go through every player on the list. Some of the rules I've thought of here, I'm going to take into consideration injuries and time not played in this one, okay? I can't make it more simple than that. Last time, I think, I took injuries into consideration for LDU and some people were like, oh, but he's played so well when he's played. I'm like, yeah, I know, but he hasn't played half the time. So I'm not saying that these are bad players or anything because they're ranked lower down. I'm going to take everything in consideration and try and make sense of it all. The other thing is some of these photos of the players on the Tier Maker site, I don't think they look like some of the players, but hey, if I forget a player here and have to do some research, stand by. But let's get into it. I'm going to try not to take too long on each player. Okay. First player here, Callum Coleman-Jones, an interesting one to start off with. Obviously didn't really start the season, came in sort of midway or just before midway point through the season. I think those initial 4 weeks that he played were outstanding and filled the role, he filled his role exactly what he needed to do, as in he was leading up the ground, taking marks on the wing and progressing it past halfway for us. He was a good shot at goal. He was taking marks in the forward line. If he kept that up, definitely A tier, if not S tier. But then the dreaded bye. And after the bye, the next month of footy he played was pretty shocking. He was trying and he definitely was in the same spots. He just wasn't clunking marks. Like he was still leading up on the wing and stuff like that, but he just couldn't clunk anything. I'm tossing up B or C for him. Now, I'm going to go B because he got into the side and he did play really, really well. And I think unless we recruit another forward, he's going to be the starting forward next year alongside Larkey. I love Comben and we'll talk about Comben later, but from the games that Coleman-Jones played and Comben played, I think Coleman-Jones did more. Okay, Comben has a high potential, I'll say that, but I think CCJ did more. He's probably going to be at the end of B after this though. So a light B for me or a strong C, but we'll be fair and we can restructure things after. Nick Larkey, well, we didn't have to talk about this, guys. We do not have to talk about this. He goes straight in A tier. All-Australian, 71 goals I think he ended on. Leadership-wise on the field was unbelievable. I love Nick Larkey. And without him, we probably wouldn't have kicked any goals. So no question, if anyone has any argument other than this, please don't bother because your opinion is incredibly wrong. So S tier for Larkey, no problems at all. Should be at least vice-captain next year for me. Ben Mackay, another interesting one. A or B for me, he was solid. The spotlight was on him, and I think that made his mistakes stand out a lot more. But you know what? I'm going to change a couple of things here. I'm going to put Ben Mackay at the start of B, and I'm going to drop Coleman-Jones down. Work with me here. I'm forming this list to get some bases because I don't think Ben Mackay was A tier. Oh, but was he? I'm going to stick with this for now, and we're gonna see who comes up in A, and then I'll see if I think Mackay is as good as them. This is a running list, guys, but we'll figure this all out. Stay with me. Okay, Mackay in B, Coleman-Jones in C. Asterisks on that, subject to change. Jaden Stevenson, Unreal first half of the year and a decent second half, but then broke his hand. Oh, was Jaden Stevenson better than Mackay? I'm going to say he was. I'm going to put Stevenson in the A tier. I'm going to put him in the A tier. Luke Davies-Uniacke. Oh, he can't go in S because he was injured too much. I'm going to put him in A because of the start of the year he had was elite, and I think he really hit his stride later in the year as well. But he did miss too many games to go in A. So I'm going to put him in, to go in S. So I'm going to put him in A. Paul Curtis, an interesting one. I think really came on in the second half of the year, but the first half of the year was a bit shaky from him. I'm going to put him in B, I think. I'm going to put him in B, but ahead of Mackay in B. I don't know if this matters at all, but who cares? Was Paul Curtis better than Jaden Stevenson? I think if you ask people this year, people would say Paul Curtis has been better than Jaden Stevenson, but I think people forget the start of the year that Steve-O had. Yeah, I'm going to go with that. Vote for Paul Curtis Goal of the Year as well. Aiden Bonner. Look, Aiden Bonner is going to go straight in D. We don't have to really debate that. Shouldn't be on an AFL list personally. So you're a much better footballer than me, Aiden, but look, it's not meant to be at North, my friend. Lachie Young. C or D for me. Came into the team. His first couple of games were okay, but then he's going to go in D because he's not better than Coleman. He didn't have a better impact than Coleman Jones. So he's going to go in D for me. Should there be another tier though? Because Lachie Young was a lot better than Aiden Bonner. No, we're keeping it how it is. Big X, Tristan Xerri, D tier for me. Absolute D tier. Did nothing all year. Just showed that I probably don't think he's going to make it at this level. I've gone on about Xerri. I'll forever on the internet be known as the Xerri and Aiden Call guy. This has been the interesting thing I said. If you guys listen to #Kangaroos, I got on Dean's podcast and Aiden Call's sort of become my thing, and Tristan Xerri. And yeah, I've realized this year, Dean asked a question, what have you found from doing a podcast for the first time? And I've realized that the things I say go on the internet now and people remember them, which is not something I was privy to before. Tristan Xerri, D, barely took a mark for the year. No, not it for me. Taron Thomas, here's an interesting one. Missed the first half of the year, but was arguably our best player back half of the year. And it's not an injury, but he did miss time, and I'm going to take that into consideration. This ranking is absolutely not about what occurred off the field for him. That's not even in consideration here. It's just on missing time and his footballing, his football ability this year. So I think I want to put him in A. I think I've got to put him in A. He missed that chunk, but his second half of the year was just outstanding. And he said he's going to stay next year. So I'll put him in A, but maybe at the end of A just because of the time that he did. But maybe the start of B because it was half the season. It was disappointing that he missed it. Like, did LDU have a better season than Taron? I don't think so. All right, Taron's going at the end of A, but we'll review some of these at the end. Bailey Scott. I think it's S. I think it's S tier for Bailey Scott. Initially, I thought A, but consistent all year. Started a tiny bit slow, but I think he was very harshly criticised. Early podcasts, people were saying Bailey Scott isn't up to it, and I was staunchly defending Bailey and Jack Zeeble at the time. Should be top 3 in our best and fairest. Yeah, he's sort of got to go in S tier, doesn't he? Curtis Taylor. I think Seko, when he came back into the team, very good. But played pretty poor and then got himself dropped. I'm going to go B tier. I'm going to go B, maybe the end of B after Mackay. I think Mackay had a better year than Curtis Taylor. If he didn't have that little patch of form at the end of the year, I'd be going C. I think he did more than Coleman Jones, but not by much. Not by much. Jack Marnie, D tier. Don't even worry about it. We don't have to argue that. Some say his shoulder is still in Tasmania. I'm sorry, that's so mean. But look, nothing against Jack Marnie personally, but probably not going to be on the list next year. Phoenix Spicer is another D tier for me. Had his opportunities this year, absolutely had his opportunities. And you can see these small flashes of brilliance, but it never ends with anything. You know, like he'll run and hit the pack and then he'll fall over, or he'll get an opportunity to kick a goal and off he goes. So I will preface as well, Robert Hansen Jr. is not on this tier list. But if I was going to put Hansen Jr. in a ranking, maybe I'd put him in C. You know, didn't really get the opportunities. I mean, he got a couple of games, 2 or 3 games towards the end of the year. Didn't really do much in those games, but he is young and we should definitely stick with him. So I'd maybe go C. But anyway, back to Phoenix, D tier for me. If we let him go, that's fine with me. And I think next year, hopefully a good VFL player. Who is this? Tom Powell. This is an interesting one. I'm going to put Tom Powell in the C tier here. Who had a better year? Curtis Taylor or Tom Powell? I think Tom Powell seems solid, but I think Curtis Taylor made more of an impact on his day, but Tom Powell was solid but didn't really have a game where he exploded and took it on. I know, was it the Saints? He kicked a couple of goals in the last quarter, but other than that, it feels harsh on Tom Powell though, because I like Tom Powell. I think he's a better player than, a C tier, but I don't know. He's just not going to get his opportunities in the midfield, and I'm taking that into consideration as well. That's not his fault. Yeah, I'll go C for now, but once again, we'll have a look. Flynn Perez, D tier for me. Not going to make it at AFL level. All the things that he's meant to be good at, he's not good at anymore. Poor guy's had a lot of knee recos or did his ACL a couple of times, something with his knee. He's not really quick, not a good kick. Not strong. So, yeah, I don't think he'll make it at the level and I would not be bringing him back. Okay, Callan Dawson. It just didn't play, did he? But I thought his last game was okay. I don't want to put him in D, but I just think he has to go in there. And it's not because, he's a bad player. He just didn't play. And I can't put him in the same tier as Coleman Jones or Tom Powell. I'll put him at the start of D because, he only got one game and I thought he was okay in that game, but he didn't play. But I think that was more on the coaches. I would have played him over Bonner. Core early days, I would have played him over him. But we know Core had a Brownlow-esque last 6 weeks. D tier for Callan Dawson, but I don't feel good about it. But I've got to be fair here. I've got to be fair. Will Phillips, probably the start of B. I'll go. Maybe not the start. He's around that Paul Curtis, Ben Mackay level. Ben Mackay wasn't his best. I'm tossing and turning with this Ben Mackay one. I'll put Ben Mackay at the start of B, but we're going to revisit that. But okay, I'll put Will Phillips in B. Probably didn't play. I wanted him to play every game this year, and from his start of the year, when he showed those signs and he sort of went into the midfield, I guess it was that like Wardlaw time when he came back in and became that inside mid other than that outside guy. I think once he found his spot, he was good, but then still got dropped for some reason. So the games he missed, I'll have to rank him down a little bit. Once again, not his fault specifically. It's more the coaching. And, when the guys were saying, we're sending him back to the VFL to work on a couple of things, but they're keeping Kane Turner in the side, I don't agree with that at all. So this isn't all Will Phil's fault, but we're being objective with everything surrounding these players. So I'll go B tier. I think he's on the same level as like Mackay and Curtis, but maybe better. because Curtis was maybe more poor but had better highs this year. Look, it's there or thereabouts. It's there. Don't take this as gospel. All right, who have we got here? Eddie Ford. I'll go A. I'll definitely go A for Eddie Ford. Yeah, he's great. He's great. The reason I won't go S is because he did miss, or he wasn't in this team all year. And he didn't play any bad games. He's either like really solid or incredibly good. And he wasn't on the tier of Larkey and wasn't on the tier of Bailey Scott. So, yeah. He played more than LDU, I would assume. He's in the A tier. Maybe I put him at the end of A tier because I think Taran and LDU definitely had better years. Yeah, okay. We're going to restagger this. So A tier goes LDU, Taran, Jaden Stevenson, and Eddie Ford. Oh, there goes my voice. Concert voice. Soz, guys. Charlie Lazaro, I'm going to go the end of C. I don't think he's a D tier. His last game of the year was brilliant. It was fantastic. I loved watching him play, but I've never seen that from Lazaro before. I know he does it in the VFL every single week, but played enough games, I guess, but a lot of them were as a sub, and he always got subbed out when he did start. We'll go at the end of C tier because I wouldn't be getting rid of him or anything like that, but yeah, maybe didn't get the opportunities. Once again, our midfield's so stacked. Like this, it's same as Tom Powell for me, where I know Tom Powell's better than Lazaro, obviously, but he's just not going to get time in the spots that we need him. So anyway, once again, we're taking all things into consideration here. If you think I've been unfair on any of these, I'm trying to be incredibly subjective. Like CCJ is my guy. I that's the type of player we need, but I've been incredibly harsh on my boy CCJ here and put him in C. So you guys know I'm being as objective as possible. Okay, Charlie Comben. It's got to be C, but it's going to be at the start of C. The only thing is the time he missed. I know it's harsh, but we're taking time played into consideration. I also would say that Coleman Jones had more of an impact when he in the small amount of games he played. They both played, to be fair. So now I'm going to put Coleman Jones at the start of C. I'm going to put Comben after him and then Tom Powell. But no, I'm changing this up. I don't know how much you guys care about the positions in each tier, but I kind of care about it and it's good discussion. What we're going to do, Coleman Jones at the start of C. Then it's Tom Powell because he played more. Comben is next, only because he missed time. And look, he was a bit wayward in front of goal, but I believe in Charlie so much and I'm so excited to see him play next year. Bay 29 favourite. And Lazaro after him. Jacob Edwards. Okay, let's go on to Miller Bergman. Poor Jacob Edwards. No, look, they're playing him in the ruck a lot. He just doesn't seem to do much in the games, does he? So, sorry, Jacob Edwards, back end of D. Miller Bergman, I'll go B. I'll go B for him. I think he had a better season than Paul Curtis, a better season than Curtis Taylor. Too many Curtises. But maybe on the same level as like a Will Phillips. He did get dropped. Will Phillips, I'm assuming, played more than him, and he did get dropped a lot and not brought back into the side, same as Curtis Taylor. So I'll put those two together. If I'm ranking Curtis Taylor and Miller Bergman, which was better, I'd say Miller Bergman was probably better, had a better season as a whole. So Miller Bergman goes near the end of B tier. Hugh Greenwood, is that Hugh Greenwood? No, let me look. No, it's Josh Gota, the GOAT man. I think B as well. Like, he did get injured and didn't play heaps and fought his way back into the team, but I thought it was pretty good. I'd say, yeah, right next to Bergman. I don't know if I can split them. Maybe Bergman was better because the start of his season was very good. But I'll go Gota after Bergman and in front of Curtis Taylor. I think that's pretty fair for Josh Goda. But I do see him as a guy who could be in the 22 next year and showed some dash off half-back. Everyone looked amazing in that Gold Coast game, but I don't want to just take that into consideration. Okay, Hamish Free. I mean, it's got to be D tier, but he didn't get a chance. He got injured. So, where do I put him? It doesn't really matter in the D tier, to be honest. I mean, he didn't play, so I guess I'll put him at the end just because he didn't play. But, it's harsh. But I'm not saying I'd probably keep him before I kept a Bonner, a Marnie, a Phoenix Spice or a Flynn Perez. But he didn't play, so at the end of D, even though it's probably unfair to rank him. Jackson Archer. This is an interesting one. Another one of my favourites. Didn't play very much. I'm going to put him at the start of C. Oh, no, I'm going to put him after Coleman. No, because that's unfair on Tom Powell too. I'm going to put him in the middle of C. I loved what he did when he came in. He's not the highest possession guy and his stats don't jump out at you, but I think Coleman Jones and Tom Powell had more of an impact. I'm assuming Coleman Jones and Jackson Archer played a similar amount of games. Tom Powell played more games, but maybe didn't have as much impact as Coleman Jones. So he's going to go in between Tom Powell and Charlie Comben here. I think that's pretty fair. Cooper Harvey, probably ahead of Lazaro, I'd say in C as well. Played all right when he came in, but sort of lost his spot. We'll see what he does next year. I'm trying to think of my Cooper Harvey opinion. Sorry, guys. Tell me if this is awful to listen to. This is off-season podcasting. You don't get premium quality podcasts. I'll put him after Comben and before Lazaro. I think he did more this season than Lazaro did. Charlie Comben, he played more games, and I don't know, I just see more in Comben. So I'll put him in the middle there, but look, who knows what he could turn into next year. It's going to be hard with guys like Braden George and everyone coming back, but got to fight for your spot, Coop. Blake Drury, I'm going to put him after Lazaro because Lazaro's last game was very good. Drury didn't really have a standout game. His first game was probably his best, to be fair. But that was still an average game for me. So, Drury stays on the list, just like Lazaro does. Probably finds it hard to get games next year. But if he can battle his way into the side, if we recruit some more depth, that will be great. George Wardlaw. I've got to go B for George. I'm going to put him in the middle of B. Now, he missed a lot of games, and of course I'm taking that into consideration. But the games he played, he was outstanding. Maybe one or two games he wasn't on it. I think the Hawks game and the Bulldogs game, maybe he played and he didn't play super well, but the impact he made when he came in was unbelievable. If he played more games, if he played 3/4 of the games, it's A tier, if not, it wouldn't be S. It's a high tier to B, but he'd definitely be an A tier. But the injuries didn't play quite as much as I would have hoped, so we're going to go B tier for George. He's in the same bracket as Mackay, Curtis, Will Phillips, and then Wardlaw is after that. I think that's pretty fair, only because the other guys played more games. But as for impact when they're on the field, he's up there with Mackay, maybe even above him. Harry Sheezel, there is no other place to put him. S tier. He's just an S tier guy. S tier looks, handsome man. S tier on the field. It's just S tier bloke in general, to be fair. Now, is he the best player of the season? I think he will win our best and fairest, but Larkey got all Australian. So I'm going to put Larkey ahead of him. He's going to be second, then Bailey Scott. Braden George, not really fair to rate him, didn't play. Now I feel bad. Maybe I'll just take Hamish Free out of this list. I sort of feel bad because he didn't play really at all. Oh, no, screw it. I'll keep him because he played some VFL games because I guess Jacob Edwards didn't play any AFL either, and I've ranked him So if you've played a VFL game, I'll rank you. There we go. So Hamish Freeze at the end. Braden George, not going to rank him. Goldstein, interesting one here. Toddy Goldstein. I'd say B. But I think second half of the season, or definitely after the bye, you could see the old man's legs weren't quite keeping up. It's B somewhere, isn't it? It's not A. It's not C. Oh, was he better than Mackay? I'd probably say no. I'm going to put him after Mackay. B tier, Mackay's leading that. Then Goldstein, then Paul Curtis. And Goldstein was more consistent than Paul Curtis and played more games than Will Phillips. So that's fair. Second in B tier for Todd Goldstein. The man's legs looked heavy at the end of the year though, but if we didn't have him and we had to rely on Jerry, we would have been absolutely roasted. Jacob Edwards would have been getting games. Liam Shields, B tier, I think. We're in B tier. I'll put him, I don't want to get caught up in recency bias here. I'll probably put him above or ahead of Curtis Taylor. I think Curtis Taylor's end of the year was better, and obviously Liam Shields didn't play, but I think the impact he made first half, maybe 3/4 of the season was great until he went down. I think near the end of B is pretty fair. I think he had a better season than Powell, Coleman Jones. Jackson Archer didn't play enough. Jackson Archer, if he did that all year, he'd be in B for sure. I'll go back at the end and we'll justify some of these that I think you guys might be mad at. Ben Cunnington, this one, I'm going to put Ben Cunnington at the start of C. Now, that is so harsh because Ben Cunnington is just the best guy and I love him so much. But once again, we're trying to be objective. His games at the start of the year, the very start were okay, lost his form, didn't get back in the team, lost the love for it, came back against Essendon, played an unreal game. But looking at the season as a whole, he did lose his spot and he struggled to get back in except for his retirement game. So he's going to be at the start of C because I love him. This is not me. This is not me dissing Cunnington. Please, guys, do not take it that way at all. You know what I love about him. Just everything. Jack Siebel, this will be another one. I'm going to... I kind of want to put him at the end of A, but I feel like I'm one of the only people with this opinion. Maybe the start of B? Was Jack Siebel better than Ben Mackay? I think he was more involved, and Mackay did miss those games. I'm going to put him at the start of B. I'm going to put him at the start of B ahead of Mackay and ahead of Goldie. Feels hard. They're probably all pretty similar. But yeah, I'm going to put him at the start of B. I've always been a Zeeble defender. I don't think he was bad this year. I think he led us from the back. You've heard all the podcasts I've done. I don't need to justify this. Zeeble goes at the start of B tier for me. Hugh Greenwood, very mixed year. Unfairly dropped so often. I'm going to put him in the middle of B. I'm going to put him after Wardlaw. Even though he played more games, Wardlaw's impact was unquestionable. But I think he had a better year than Miller Bergman and Goda and Shields. So, yeah, I guess I'll only rank him down because he missed a lot of games. If he played all the games and played how he played, it's arguably top of B, end of A. But did miss those games in the middle of the year. Not his fault at all to justify again, but hey, middle of B for me. Here we go. Aiden Corr. Aiden Corr again. I can't wait to not talk about Aiden Corr anymore. I don't want to be the Aiden Corr guy, but I am now. God damn it. Aiden Corr's first 3/4 of the year, atrocious. Absolutely atrocious. Until Griffin Logue went down after the bye, shocking. One of the worst every single week. Then, for some reason, as soon as Griffin Logue goes down, he decides to be an AFL footballer again and played very well. Once again, I will not deny Aiden Corr's props. He played fantastically after, maybe play him on the wing and overlap for slotting goals from outside 50. Kane Turner handball receives, guys. They supercharge the ball. They must. But I'm not forgetting that start of the year. I'm not forgetting the first, half to 3/4 of that year. You can't. Oh my God. It's the end of B or start of C. I'm going to be generous because I know you guys love Aiden Core, and I'm going to put him at the end of B because he played very consistently. He played nearly every game. So Cunnington, I hate putting Aiden Core in front of Cunnington, but games played. Games played. All right, I don't want to talk about this anymore. Luke McDonald, a poor year. A poor year. I think I've just put him in between Powell and Archer in C. Do you guys think that's fair? He was poor but then am I being too nice on Cunnington? Screw it. I love Cunnington. He's going at the start of C. Let's pretend Cunnington's not there. McDonald probably wasn't. I think Powell was better. Coleman Jones didn't play as many games though. Am I ranking Coleman Jones too high? I think I am. I'm being biased. Okay. Coleman Jones goes after McDonald and above Jackson Archer in C tier. Now, McDonald played super consistently, nearly every game. So I've got to put him in there because he played more games. I think he was a little bit unfairly criticised at points. But I don't think he had as good of a year as Tom Powell. So I think that's a pretty fair assessment there. So Tom Powell in C tier had a better year, I would say, even though McDonald played more games. And McDonald had a better year than Coleman Jones. Okay. Aaron Hall, we'll put him at the end of C. I think he was better than Lazaro for his appearances and played more games. Remember, I know we're getting rose-tinted goggles from the last game, but Lazaro did only have one good game for the year. So Aaron Hall goes behind Cooper Harvey and in front of Charlie Lazaro at the end of C. Happy retirement to him as well. Daniel Howe, it's got to be... Did Daniel Howe have a better year than Aaron Hall? I don't think so. I think I'm going to put him after Hall and above Lazaro because he did play more games and his bad games were awful, but he did have a couple of games that were okay. Charlie Lazaro, not as many mistakes, but not as many opportunities. And Lazaro's only good game was the last game of the season. So I'm going to put Daniel Howe after Aaron Hall and ahead of Charlie Lazaro. I can already feel you guys seething. Speaking of seething, Kane Turner. We've only got 5 more. Kane Turner. Oh, God. Kane Turner. How do I be objective here? I know where to put him. I'm going to put him in C tier. I'm not... Look, anyone trying to convince me that Kane Turner played pretty well for the last few games, he played okay. You know, do I want him to be in the team next year? No. Let's not get it twisted. Kane Turner goes after Jackson Archer. Jackson Archer's impact on the team, even with fewer games, was much greater. And I think Kane Turner did more than Charlie Comben this year, but it was only because of games played. And I think Comben's output, once again, we were waiting for that breakout game. He was solid enough, but barely played. Kane Turner played more games and was okay or poor. But I don't think it's fair to put Kane Turner below Comben because of the injuries. Can't put him below Harvey because he played more games. Yeah, I think that's pretty fair. I'm actually pretty happy where I'm putting these guys. There's a couple that I'll debate at the end. All right. Darcy Tucker. Initially, I'm thinking he goes ahead of McDonald, but after Powell. I think that's pretty fair. I say Powell had more of an impact in the season, but I'm assuming Tucker might have played more games. They would have been pretty similar, but I assume Tucker played a few more. I don't know. I wasn't stoked with Darcy Tucker. I think when they were in the team, Tom Powell was better. But Tucker played more games. Yeah. All right. C tier, after Powell and ahead of Aaron Hall. I think that's pretty fair to put him in there. Jai Simpkin's going to be an interesting one. B tier for me, I think Jai had a down year. I really do. But it wasn't bad, but he can be a lot better. But he did miss games as well. Around Wardlaw in B tier here. Did Jai Simpkin have a better year than Will Phillips? I'm going to put him after Paul Curtis, but above Will Phillips. Yeah, I think that's fair. What do you guys think listening to my brain tick over like this? I hope there's not like long pauses. I'm trying to keep my brain on track here. Okay. Yeah, Jai Simpkin after Paul Curtis, but above Will Phillips, only because of games played. I think Jai and Will, very similar, but I think Jai was a little bit better. I hate putting Wardlaw behind those guys, even Greenwood, to be honest, but it's just because of how much Wardlaw completely aroused me when he was playing, to be honest, but he didn't play enough games. I've got to be objective. All right, Griffin Logue. I think probably around the same thing. I'm thinking who had a better year for me? Griffin Logue, Jai Simpkin. Jai played more games. Griffin Logue had a bigger impact. I'll put Griffin ahead of Jai, I think. That could be a contentious one for you guys as well. I just think Griffin Logue came in and did what we expected him to do. Good intercept marker. We needed that key position player, and he was solid and wants to be here. And I don't know, I feel like he'll be a fan favourite soon enough. Jai set the standard so high with how good he can be. Concussed and had a couple of injuries through the year. Was solid and broke out at the end of the year. His best games in the last month of the season. But yeah, I think Griffin Logue is probably better. And lastly, Cam Zurhaar. A disappointing year from the Bull, to be honest. I think behind Greenwood and above Miller Bergman in B tier. But even that maybe feels a little bit too high. No, I think that's pretty fair. I think who had a better season, Greenwood or Zurhaar? I'd say Greenwood was more consistent and played more. Zurhaar obviously missed a lot of the end of the year, and he was pretty inconsistent, which is something that I'll be wanting from him to fix next year, to be honest. So, yep, Zurhaar goes after Greenwood, but ahead of Bergman in B tier. And that's the tier list, guys. All right, let's have a look and see. Let's have a look and see what we should change. Another thing I should do as well is I should go and try and look at the tier list that I did at the end of the year, or in the middle of the year as well. I'll get that up soon. But Larkey, Sheasel, and Bailey Scott in S tier. LDU, Taryn, Stevenson, and Eddie Ford in A tier. I think I'm pretty happy with that. B tier is where it starts to get contentious. The only one I'd probably be thinking about is probably Mackay. Mackay or Zeeble, but Zeeble was kind of poor. Mackay was just the same all through the year. I don't think Mackay really had any bad games. I'm going to keep Mackay where he is. Goldstein as well. So B tier is Zeeble, Mackay, Goldstein, Paul Curtis, Griffin Logue, Simpkin, Will Phil, Wardlaw, Greenwood, Zurhaar, Bergman, Goda, Shields, Taylor, and Core. I guess the other one to debate is Aiden Core because he played more than Zurhaar though. I'm going to move Aiden Core up, guys. But he was so bad at the start of the year. I don't know. This is the one, isn't it? Who had a better year, Aiden Core or Zurhaar? I'm gonna go with Zurhaar only because of how poor Aiden Core was. We all, and if you're an Aiden Core lover now, don't forget back to the first half of the season, we were all calling for him to go. And when he got suspended against Port, how much better did our defence look when he wasn't there? Then he came back and Griffin Logue went out and he looked great in defence. Once again, I'm going to justify Aiden Core was great once Griffin Logue went down, but that was only second half of the year. I'm going to put him after Zerha and in front of Bergman because Core played more games than Bergman, so I think that's fair. I'd say Bergman was more solid, but Core's games were better. Yeah, I think that's fair. After Zerha in front of Bergman. C tier, Cunnington, only because he lost his spot and didn't really get back except for his retirement game, but I love Ben Cunnington. Tom Powell is maybe a harsh one. I'm going to put, I feel so bad. I'm going to put Powell in front of Cunnington just because Powell played more games. Yeah, maybe I've got to move Cunnington down a little bit here. I've got to be objective. I've got to be objective. Don't be a North fan right now. God damn it. All right, Powell goes ahead. I don't think Powell's B. I don't think Powell was as good as Curtis Taylor. But I'm keeping Powell in C. I don't think Tom Powell had a game this year where I was like, God damn, look at Tom Powell. And I'm trying not to get too carried away with the Gold Coast game because it was 1 out of 23 games. Tucker, would Tucker go ahead of Cunnington because he played a lot more? Oh, yeah, I've got to move Cunnington down. I feel so bad, though. I feel so bad. I'm not putting Cunnington behind Kane Turner, though. I'm going to move Cunnington down just because of games played. But does Cunnington go... Okay, this is what I'm doing. C tier, Tom Powell, Darcy Tucker, Luke McDonald. Who is next, Cunnington or Coleman Jones? I think Coleman Jones had more of a positive impact in the games they played. Coleman Jones, I'm assuming, played a few more games. And that month when he came in was very good. Cunnington sort of lost his spot at the start of the year and he only really played 1 outstanding or maybe 2 outstanding games. Jackson Archer is the other one. Who had a better year, Archer or Cunnington? Oh, Jackson Archer, once he got his place, he held it. So that's why I'm going to put him ahead of Cunnington. But I'm not putting Ben Cunnington behind Kane Turner. Sorry, can't do it. I am a North fan at the end of the day. So, C tier after that, Cunnington, Kane Turner, Charlie Comben, Cooper Harvey, Aaron Hall, Daniel Howe, Charlie Lazaro, and Blake Drury. I'm pretty happy with that. Once again, because I feel like it's the internet. People are going to get mad. Cooper Harvey, I'm not saying Cooper Harvey is basically the same amount of good as Aaron Hall, but games played and impact and that sort of stuff. You guys are smart. We're North fans. We're a smart, intelligent fan base, guys. You're going to get this. I actually think this is pretty accurate and pretty unbiased. D tier, Callan Dawson, Lockie Young, Tristan Jerry, what's that guy's name? Flynn Perez, Phoenix Spicer, Jack Marnie, Aidan Bonner, Jacob Edwards, and Hamish Free. I think that's pretty good. Okay, so I've found the tier list that myself and Admin 3 from North Melbourne Closer to a Flag did during the bye through the middle way of the year. So I'm going to read out the tiers that we originally had and let's see who's shuffled around a bit. So S tier, midway through the season, was Larkey, Stevenson, Wardlaw, Sheasel. Larkey's still in there. Sheasel's still in there. Fantastic. Clearly the best 2 players. Bailey Scott not in there. Has moved up. That's really good. We probably got on the hype train for Wardlaw a little bit. I think C is fair for him. I mean, poor injury record, which I've been pretty consistent with ranking in this list, but when he was on the field, he was outstanding. And Jaden Stevenson's dropped down 1 tier. I think that's pretty fair. I mean, look, quite a second half of the year, but let's not forget what he did at the start of the year. A tier was Goldie, Taryn, Zeeble, Coleman Jones, Bailey. Oh, Bailey Scott's there. Cool. Hugh Greenwood, Will Phillips, Eddie Ford, Liam Shields, and Jai Simpkin. Yeah, Simpkin's dropped down. Yeah, probably right. I mean, he did get injured again or concussed, I think. And, yeah, sparked back into life at the end. But, hey, Shields was having a good season then, not consistent. Eddie Ford, yeah, sort of stayed there. So everyone else is there or thereabouts. Maybe Coleman Jones has dropped down a lot, but I think that's pretty accurate to his season. B tier is Griffin Logue, Miller Bergman, Cam Zerha, LDU, gone up a little bit to A tier from B tier, which I think is fair enough. got his consistency back at the end of the year a little bit. Still a bit injury prone, but his impact is unquestionable. Ben Mackay, Luke McDonald, Tom Powell, Charlie Comber, and Cooper Harvey. Mackay, I guess, yeah, similar. I mean, we've put him at the start of B, near the start of B now. Who else is here? McDonald's, obviously, yeah, continued to be poor, so we dropped him down. Tom Powell was in and out, dropped him down. Comben hurt and never made it back, dropped him down. Cooper Harvey sort of played a few games and went away. C tier, Darcy Tucker, Tristan Jerry, Paul Curtis, Josh Goda, Blake Drury, Phoenix Spicer, Charlie Lazaro, Jackson Archer, Ben Cunnington, Aaron Hall, and Daniel Howe. Darcy Tucker stayed the same. Jerry, I mean, just got worse as the year went on. Paul Curtis has gone up a good back half of the year. Goda came back in and did well. Pretty similar for Drury, Phoenix, Charlie, Lazaro. Jackson Archer got back in the team and moved up, which was good. Cunnington moved up a little bit, maybe fairly or unfairly. You can question that. It's not very much, though, to be fair, just because of the last game. Aaron Hall and Daniel Howe in the same spots. So I think that's pretty fair in C tier. And the last tier is Aiden Core, D tier. Aiden Core, Curtis Taylor, Kane Turner, Flynn Perez, Aiden Bonner, Callan Dawson, Lockie Young, Jack Marnie, and Jacob Edwards. Pretty similar. I mean, Kane Turner kept playing, so we've moved him up. Aiden Core, obviously, I mean, that's incredibly representative of where Aiden Core was at halfway through the year. Good on him for moving up, though. He's got himself into C tier, so hopefully he can keep that up next year. But yeah, other than that, it's pretty similar. So there we go, guys. All done. All done. What do you guys think of that tier list? I think pretty accurate. No one else I'd really move around. But hey, message me and let me know how much you'd roast me for my awful takes on the players. So my voice is about to go. It's probably time to leave. I don't think there's anything else really to talk about. Like I said, let me know on Facebook and Instagram what you would like me to do and what content you'd like to see. I gave you those little things before. Let me know if you'd like to see those ideas I had, or if you've got any others, please tell me. I'm here to please you. I'm here to serve you guys. Draft stuff coming, free agency stuff coming, all that trades, that's all coming. So don't suggest that stuff. I've got it under control. If there's anything else, any tier lists, any funny things, game reactions and that sort of stuff you'd like to see, let me know. All right. I think that's all. Hopefully you enjoy this podcast, guys. Let me know how bad I did. If you disagree or agree with any of these, let's have some playful banter. And I'll talk to you guys maybe next week. All right, I'm going to rest my voice. Have a good one, guys. Go North, and hopefully the Power lose. Bye-bye.